We have a very special collection today. This is from Studio Light. It's called In Loving Memory. And you can see this is an well, I hope you can see this is an 8x8 paper pack. There are 36 sheets, and there are over 300 die cuts out of this package. Here is one of the cards that I've done, and you can see those beautiful butterflies right there. I do want to tell you from personal experience how important it is to have and to send, more important to send, condolences when someone has passed in your life. Okay, we're going to get started, and so please come play with us. Okay, so I've already told you about these, so I'm going to set them aside, and we'll bring in our first card. Now, as I've been doing with these webisodes, I'm going to be telling you why I did what I did. And again, I used my trick of the piece of acetate that has the outline of the cards. I just took a Sharpie, went around my card, and that way I've got kind of a pattern, and I can play with this on the papers to see where I want them to go. Okay, so I am using our 5 by 6.5 inch cardstock, our cards, and in this paper, let me just kind of show this to you. The colors, there's some solid colors, which comes in very handy, but the colors are all very faded, and there are browns and blues pretty much through the whole thing. So that's good to know, but I found that I needed to add a few things to add a little bit of punch to this. So let me show you what that's all about. In this particular card, I did first cut a piece of the pattern paper. This is the sheet I used. Again, you can see it's got both the blue and the brown. And by the way, the instructions are down below. Just click on the card. You'll see the instructions on the right-hand side of your screen. So I took this, and then to really boost that blue, I used the Prussian blue ink pad, and I used that on any time I had blue in this collection. So did that around the edge, and then I matted it on the dark blue. Now, as I showed you when I flipped through here, there are solid papers inside. So light blue, dark blue, there's a tan, and oh, let me see. Okay, there's the dark blue. So that's what I've used. You get multiple sheets of each one, so that comes in handy. Now, I put this toward the inside of the card because there is white in here, so I wanted that white to pop, and having white on the edge allows that to happen. But I also wanted to support the brown that's going on. So I did this with the blue quite purposefully. Then with the edging, I took some of the dazzles. Now these are thin line primary colors, and you can see I chose the brown. And so I've used two pieces, different designs at the top and then on the side. And notice they create this nice little overlap in the corner, and that just works very, very nicely. Now I did, because this is so horizontal, I did want those verticals happening. So those thin line dazzles accomplish a vertical, but so does the ribbon. So this is out, obviously, of the blue ribbon set. I did, after I matted this piece, I wrapped the ribbon around and then attached the ends to the back. Then I made the bow. I set the bow aside for a minute. As I said, there are 300, more than 300 cutouts in here. And what happens with these is that sometimes they are cut off register. What does that mean? Well, let me show you. It means that you can really see it on this one. You see how that white edge isn't equal around it? It's tricky to do. This is a paperweight, so it's not cardstock, it's a paperweight. But that's not a problem. So I don't want you to think it is a problem, because you can fix that with ink. And so what I've done, in fact, I've done it in all of the projects, is, can you see, I've given it a blue edge. Did that with the Prussian blue. With the brown, I used, let's see, I used the velvet, and I'll show you that ink pad. It's the Velvet Fawn. So I use that later on. But here I've got the blue, and it just finishes that edge. It just makes it work perfectly. And when you get 300 die cuts, you know, I'm okay with them being off register a little bit. It would be different if you only got 10, but with these, it works well, and the inking is just a perfect solution. Foam taped that up, and then I zotted that bow. Notice the bow's at an angle. So I've got these horizontal lines, a few vertical lines to balance it, and then I've got this kind of at an angle, which is really pretty fun. Now for the inside of my card, I did something different. Well, I took the two brown thin line and had them go the other way. Same thing, I've done two at the fold and coming down, so that gives me another balance. But there are many of these, in fact, let me open this package, that they're big pieces, and so that's kind of fun. There's just a ton of stuff in here. In fact, this is the one that I worked out of, and you can see there's still a lot left. So I did find another of the pieces. So what's nice about this is that you've got just very heartfelt messages, sending you our deepest sympathies. May your heart and soul find peace and comfort. I didn't have to do anything to the edge of this because of the white card, so that's just going to blend at that edge. But pushing this out and gluing it again at an angle, I just felt that was a very distinctive look, and there's obviously room to write a message, so that worked. So that's kind of my beginning card. Now we're going to ratchet it up a little bit. And one thing I did find is that I wanted to add some other things to it. I wanted to get some more contrast, but before that, I wanted to do something different. So this card has got 3 layers. So it's opening with the fold at the top, then we've got a blue center, and then we've got multiple pieces going on the inside. Okay, so let me show you how I did that. And so you do need 2 cards to accomplish this. So the first card, I have the fold over here. I'm just cutting a 1/2 inch off of it, okay? Now this is going to be the, we're going to use that inside the card. Then for the second piece, okay, I'm going to lay a card out flat, and then I'm going to go past the score line a 1/2 inch and cut it. So I've got this piece and I've got this piece. And the way they're going to go together is that I'm going to turn this with the fold down here, and I'm going to put extra sticky tape. There's my extra sticky tape. Don't leave home without it. Put it on the flap and attach that behind the card. And there you've got your mechanism. So just like this is going to stay there. This is going to open, and then that piece easily opens because you've got that 1/2 inch, and then you've got the inside. Okay, so easy to do, and I'll get these out of the way. So the first thing I did, we're going to start with the top of the card, is that, like I said, I wanted to add some texture, some more things that are going on, because everything is very muted, as it should be, and that works perfectly. But in this case, I have used the brown crocodile, the white glitter, and vellum. So I've got several things going on. Now here, this is the sheet, and birds play, the lilies play through here, and that works very nicely. So with this, I have trimmed it again to be smaller than my card front. There's white text here. I wanted to have the butterfly, actually that was an addition toward the end, and I wanted to leave some of the white around the card, but I didn't want it to be stark white, so I did edge it with the velvet fawn, okay? And as you may know if you've been watching me, I do like to use the blender brushes, so placing this on a craft mat, having my ink pad right there, and dipping into it, and then just brushing it lightly from the edge all the way around. Okay, so that was accomplished. Then this piece, I did do some brown around it. Can you see it's got kind of a halo of brown? And you can see how plain it is there, or how not inked it is there. That worked well for me. And like I said, I wanted a masculine look, and I also wanted to just give a little boost to it. So the brown crocodile is wonderful. It is embossed, and you can buy it by the sheet. So that I glued here on top of this. This is obviously one of the die cuts. I didn't ink it. I felt that white worked pretty well, even though it's not quite as much white down here. I thought that was fine. The butterfly, as I said, was a last minute, and I did go to die cuts. This one, cutting dies, and this is newer this year, and you can see this butterfly. And I cut it out of the glitter cardstock. And I just felt, again, that's going at an angle. Obviously I like that, don't I? And I do have the horizontal and the vertical. I wanted to be able to see the birds, so I set all of this over to the left. I just prefer that. I think it's kind of a classy look, if you will. But I liked how this brown gave texture, and it just did give a bit more of a masculine look. Okay, now opening this up, then I'm going to go to a different color. And as you can see, brown or blue is going to be my other color. And in keeping with kind of this outdoor theme, I used this paper right here. And you can see that kind of foggy look, which works really nicely. I did trim this down. I wanted to make sure it was about the same as the front of the card, so you can see they're all lining up. That's just a detail that I like, that symmetry on the things. So if you like that too, that would be a way just to measure them all the same. So this is going to have the Prussian blue again, you know, what I'm using in all of this around this. Again, I just wanted to add something more. That foggy, misty look, I just thought it called for some vellum. This is our white dot vellum. Now I did, first, I just tore this. Now, some people are dismayed by tearing paper. Be strong, don't worry about it. Vellum, like paper, has a grain. So one way of tearing it, I'm going to tear this, warning to you. Here, I'll start here. It'll be easier to tear one side. Okay, see how straight that's going? That's because of the grain in the vellum. And so that's going to work nicely on this strip. So just tear it. It's about 1 inch in 3/4. Again, the exact directions are down below. So just tear it like that. And just like with paper, when you tear it one way, you'll see the white, kind of the white edge. You can see that there. It's subtle. The other way, you don't see it quite as predominantly. Plus, I wanted the dots to show, so you'll see them printed on one side. Going back to my tutorial on vellum, when you tear it the other way, it's going to be more ragged. Now, that's great if that's a look you want, so perfectly fine. Okay, so I did tear it, and I did put the ends to the back. I just wanted them tucked under, and I did attach them with the extra sticky tape. Now, there are 3 cutouts here, and 2 of them have been inked, as you can see, so it gives it kind of a darker edge. And the artwork that's on the papers is also reduced on the die cuts. So, like I said, there's 300. There's just a lot to do. So I added, this one has the birds. This also has a different scene, and with loving thoughts and deepest sympathy. So I thought that was really nice. Now I'm going to go back to brown, to my inside. And with that, I used one of the solid colors. Again, it is the same size. And this time I did color it with a darker of the ink pads, and this is the Muddy Brown, Muddy Boots. It is a darker brown, so you can see, maybe you can see that that's lighter with the velvet fawn There you go. You see it with those two. And it's darker here. I just felt we needed more contrast. Now, I went ahead and went back to my crocodile right there. This time for my horizontal, or my vertical, I just tore a rectangle of the vellum. Now, what I did is I just glued the center of it because I knew I was going to put these other pieces on top, so that would hide the glue. Because you know, vellum is see-through and sometimes the adhesive will show. So that's how I took care of that problem. I've got 3 more of the die cuts. You can see that they're larger than they were here. Almost as big as the one on the front, but you know, you always want to have an uneven number, so that's why I have 3. This time they're kind of stair-stepped. This time they're more in a cluster. So I've got the biggest one here. I did leave them with the white edge just as they were. More birds, it just kind of reinforces the theme. The thinking of you, some of the die cuts are very ghosted back, just like that one. So, you know, you can pick and choose whatever you like. But I like the idea that I had the crocodile here with the glitter. That's the only place the glitter's used. I've got vellum here, and then I've got vellum here and the crocodile. So I kind of like that, playing with those specialty papers. So that's my second card. My third card is this. And it just was very fun. Again, I wanted to use those die cuts well. So this is going back to our blue. This is the paper I used. And you can see that I used this area. So I started with the dandelions down here. Of course, why wouldn't I love dandelions? This is Paper Wishes, after all. And I wanted to make sure that I got some of those birds in. So this, and I did mat it on that same dark blue that I used on the first card. And this time I went with a smaller greeting. Because it has a white edge, I didn't do any inking to it. I didn't do any inking to the papers here. However, I did onto the die cuts. So this is what's going on. And you can see that I tucked this greeting so that the birds were surrounding it. I just thought that was a really nice, comforting look. The dazzles just did a perfect touch, I thought. This is the Fancy Border Primary Dazzles, and doesn't that blue just work so well? So just place that there. Now, these cutouts, there are 3 of them here. Surprise, surprise. This one has 2 of the dandelions, then 1 dandelion, and then this cluster of blue flowers. I kind of looked at this and echoed that, you know, that look of the blue little flowers down there. And so I did foam tape this down. This is with a little bit more foam tape, 2 layers, and this has got 2 layers. Now I did ink the edges of all of these in blue because it's going on this blue sheet. And I really like that. I like bringing that dimension into this so that everything is flat except the dandelions and the flowers. I thought that worked very nicely. And it was fine to leave this open. I thought that having that just allowed the birds kind of room to go around the message. On the inside, okay, I've gone back to those big pieces and done more layering. So this is the light blue and the dark blue. Notice it's offset. It's kind of closer over to the fold. And another of those Fancy Border Dazzles. But first, this is a die cut. This is a die cut. This is 1 die cut. This is 1, and this is 1. So it's the same idea as this, except bigger, just bigger. And I like the look on the first card of that big lily. And I thought the big dandelions was really nice. Now, because this is blue, I did ink the edges of these blue, my deep consolences. And this is another one of the larger die cuts. I guess this would be the largest. So these 2 are in 1 piece. This is in 1 piece. And then this is the other piece. And they're just all flat. Everything is flat. And I thought it was fun to have this playing off of that. So there you go. Now, my last card is this one. And a little bit more going on here. Again, marrying the browns and the blues. And this has a cutaway. So the front of my card, I cut in half. So I measured 2.5 inches and cut it, cut that piece off. Then I went into the papers and I used this piece. Doesn't that just call for a border? It just absolutely does. And I did make sure that it would fit on the card. You do have to trim along here and then this piece. And you won't cut all of them, excuse me, you won't cut all of them off, but you will get most of them, okay? So I simply glued that down. And then I did ink with, you know, my favorite velvet fawn right along the edges. Now, I felt that, as I've been saying, excuse me, that it just the papers work beautifully, but they just need a little oomph and a little something to make them a little more special. So, Thin Line Dazzles to the rescue. And these are the gold ones. You can get them individually by the sheet, or you can get them in a package with black, white, gold, and silver. I did the 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, but notice that they are in line with the paper that's on the inside. So let's talk about that paper. And let me show you what I used. La, la, la. Goodness. Oh, okay, here it is. So this is the paper, and I used this part. So for the inside of my card, I used that piece, because I wanted to make sure that what was going to be on the front was lighter than the inside, but also would support it, that it wouldn't overwhelm it, because that's, you know, that's kind of my big presentation right there. So this one worked nicely, but I did ink it in blue. Again, blue's my color here. So all the way around, and then with the Thin Line Dazzles so that they will go right along and coordinate perfectly, and they do. So going back here, now I wanted to have something that I could overlap in this area, and yet it would work against the inside of the card too. And I did. By the way, these papers are single-sided, so it's nice that they included the solid colors also. So I went back to this piece, and I cut a piece off right here. So you can see it's darker, and then I turned it on its side. Does that make sense? So I cut a piece here, this rectangle, and then I turned it so that my darker was against the light, and my lighter was against the darker. That way it popped better, because if I would have had the light against here, there's not much contrast. So I turned it, okay? I also matted it on gold, because I knew I was going to be using these butterflies, which are gold, and I had the gold dazzles, so I wanted to have a little bit of gold under that piece. So I matted it on our gold metallic paper. Then this is one of the die cuts. I'm so sorry for your loss. Notice the one earlier said, "We are so sorry." So this would be from an individual. Obviously, that's from more than one. Then I used one of the lilies, overlapped it. I like the idea, and I think it's important that visually things overlap. And again, you want to use an uneven number. So I've got 3 right here. Now, these butterflies, these are foiled. They are on acetate and they're die cuts. Okay, so what does that mean? That means all you do is pop them out. But I felt like they would get lost on the papers. So I took a True Blue tri-blend marker, because they're alcohol inks, they're going to work on acetate. And I turned this over. Notice that there's silver on the back side. How neat is that? And I just colored it in. Now, the nice thing about going on the back side is you don't have to be careful. That works nicely for me. Now, I did have to give it a couple of coats, so I'm not 100% sure how much blue you're going to be seeing. On the other side, let me put white under it. Okay, you can see you're only getting a little bit. You do want to go over it a couple of times, that's fine. And this is what you will get. So what I did is I popped them out and I used a piece of extra sticky tape only in the body. That way we get a little bit of movement, at least with this one and this one. So I attached it there, and then again, because you want an uneven number, I put a flat one here and then another bendable one down here. So I thought that worked very nicely. I like the gold reproducing, and it just gives a more elegant look, and I think that this could work for masculine or feminine. Now on the inside, I have to be careful that my pieces will be covered up when the card is closed, but I still wanted something pretty here. So I've got 2 die cuts with loving thoughts and deepest sympathy, and then the blue flowers. Now, the blue flowers, I did color the edge with the Prussian blue ink pad. I didn't do anything to this one because I knew I would be covering up some of the pieces. Now, I did leave this one uncolored. I just thought that that would work there because it's got kind of a background, plain background behind it. Here, we've got so many backgrounds behind it that I didn't think that it would. I thought the blue was just really a good idea. But here I just left it and just put the extra sticky tape again in the body, but the whole piece is just flat. So nothing shows except what I want to show when the card is closed. So there we go. We have the In Loving Memory papers and die cuts, really great tools. Probably want to keep these on hand or something like it as we move through life. There is a money saver. It is over on the right-hand side of your screen, as always. As I said, I've written up the instructions down below, and you can see all the materials that I used and certainly repeated them, especially the ink pads through all of the projects. I appreciate the comments you've given me. I really am thinking about calling this Designing with Paulette. Let me know what you thought. If you like getting the whys behind the designing, I hope you do, because I really am enjoying doing this with you and for you. I want to thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, you know the deal. We hope you'll come on over to paperwishes.com. Take advantage of the money saver. Look at the instructions. You can print them off if you would like. And I do want to thank you for being absolutely the best part of Paper Wishes and for being part of our Paper Wishes family. We'll see you next time.